Who knows? Well, we did think that nobody would want to listen. Well, I personally wasn't sure anybody would want to listen to it. And I can't believe how many people on the street are sort of
It's
walking
funny.
by. I told you we were walking the dog in the park near us here. A guy
Yeah.
with an immersion top
Uh,
sees me, says, "Oh, I love your podcast," especially through
wow.
the lockdown. Yeah.
Okay, that
I
is
think it
pretty cool.
was, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's excellent.
Mm,
There's people I'd really like to get on some more OGs, like Rob, like Ground Zero Rob. He's like,
yeah.
there's an interesting story about that guy. Like, he used to be the bouncer at the bar, like when I was in my heavy drinking days.
Mm,
You know, we're mates. He worked security at the Evelyn Hotel. And
mm,
like, I had no idea what jiu-jitsu was. And there was this other guy, Asaf, who I used to party with, who was into Brazilian jiu-jitsu as well. But like, there was this, I forgot that I knew about jiu-jitsu like a decade before I even started it or something like that, like ages ago.
mm.
But Rob was literally working security at this bar, and we'd see him all the time, every day. Like, he was always there and telling stories. And he was obviously an absolute weapon, but I'd like to get him in. I'd like to find out what his story is, because he's been around the traps forever and a day.
Mm, mm.
You know him?
Well, you want the OGs. I also reckon it's good to mix it up with some of the new school.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you've heard of Isaac Mitchell. He won brown belt no-gi worlds. He's kind of
Right.
in Craig Jones's stable, one
Mm.
of those guys. Or
Okay.
I think he's from Sydney originally. Now he's living over there in the US. And there's a heap of other guys. I don't know if we could ever get Levi Jones on. That'd be awesome. Like, he's another, just a
I don't
dude
see
from
why
Sydney
not.
who,
Yeah, because these are people. These are just normal people. So I reckon anyone we ask if they can do it,
yeah,
will do it. Except for Craig
yeah.
Jones. He doesn't seem to want to come.
He doesn't even respond. Kit
But
Dale wasn't far
that's what
behind either, yeah.
he's been like that. And maybe Kit as well.
Yeah.
Okay, there's two superstars who probably will never come on. But everybody
Yeah,
else, everybody else.
that's it.
Yeah.
And I think not even the superstars. What's nice about our podcast, it's the everyday people, because that's what makes up the community as much as the superstars. Yeah, like
Absolutely.
those
Yeah.
purple belts and blue belts that are just grinding away at those suburban clubs. And I think that's also maybe what people identify with when they listen to the podcast,
Yeah.
because someone once described it. It's like listening to people talking at an open mat.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
it's probably, a bit
I think
different.
superstars, like if we're doing this for a while, like assuming we can just keep going, the
Yeah.
superstars won't be superstars forever. They're going to be retired superstars, and then they're going to come on the show. Like, eventually we'll get Craig on, we'll get Kid on, and they'll have, there'll be old dudes with their old stories about what it used to be like back in the good old days. And
like us old dudes and dudettes now.
yeah,
You
that's
and
right.
I.
Oh my God. There's a funny story, right? The other day,
Yeah.
I'm at jiu-jitsu. Tiago's putting a stripe on a white belt, right? And basically, I just caught him out of the corner of my eye. I'm underneath someone, and they're really crushing me heavily. And I get back to rolling, and I swear to God, I heard my name. And I swear to God, I heard Tiago say my name. So then, after the roll's finished, I get up, I go over, and I stand behind this white belt, right? And I'm like, Tiago either wants to talk to me or he wants to give me a stripe. Either is fine by me. Like, no stress. So I'm standing there, and then Patrick comes over to me, and he says, do you want to roll, Anton? Because the next round's coming out. And I was like, oh no, Tiago wants to talk to me. And then Tiago's like, Anton, I did not say your name, and I don't want to talk to you, right? And there's like April, and there's everyone lined up against the wall, just looking and laughing because, like,
You had an out-of-body experience.
Yeah, Tiago literally said to me, if you think I'm giving you a stripe, you are fooling yourself. You're dreaming. So that was like the most awkward moment you could ever.
Oh God!
Like, I went up to get a stripe I was never getting. That's
lining up in the queue. It wasn't there.
So I don't know if that's ever happened to him or not. It's certainly the first time I've ever done it. But I wonder if any other people have accidentally gone up for a stripe before.
Well, I know that sometimes when I'm rolling and I hear Tiago coaching someone, you always sort of think, is that me? Is he telling what? Why would I want to put my leg there or something like that? That's how I think anyway. And then I'm like, oh no, he's talking to someone else.
Yeah. So that's where I went wrong. I thought, he's talking to me. I swear to God,
password is incorrect, mate.
All right, let me just check.
I want to do another link. By now we've probably
now that link
exhausted about
over
10 minutes of this one.
Oh yeah. Let's see. That is the I'll just say try this actual link. Try this link. So funny. Anyway, I've been laughing about it a lot, and so many people saw it too. So, like, it was really confronting because now, when I reflect on it, part of me was like, "Yeah, I think it's about time. It's been 4 years or something since I got my purple belt." So
that's it. Yeah, no, 2018, because it was when we started going camping together.
No, in fact, I'm dreaming. And then the next day, the coaching I got, which was amazing too. Like, Tiago is really, he knows I really want to go far now. Like, I'm getting more committed, and he's like, Anton, you've got courage off the mats. You'll do anything off the mats, business, whatever. You'll go for it. But when you come here, you won't pull the trigger, and by the time your opportunity's there, by the time you look confused, and then by the time you go to do something, you've missed your opportunity. So now what I've done is
a good analysis. Yeah.
So I've got to bring the courage. He wants me to tap more. He wants me to go for things, experiment.
Risk it. Yeah.
Risk it. He wants me to risk it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take that on, and I'm pumped.
Yeah, because you do risk a lot outside of in life.
Yeah.
You don't have an issue with that. What's that about? True.
I think it comes down to not wanting to get hurt, but I know now.
You know that you won't.
Yeah,
You've been doing it how long now? You know. Yeah. Trust in it. Yeah.
I think it's that.
Yeah.
And just not wanting to look stupid, but I look stupid by trigger.
Jiu-Jitsu is not the place to worry about how you look, man.
Yeah.
Hey, Theo wants to know, when is the next Masters event?
Yeah, well, I think we'll do February or January next year. I don't think there's time for one more. Okay. Just got a message from Jason. He needs to do an update.
We will be eating at like 8 o'clock.
Click join from browser. Okay, because there is a link there. See if that works. Okay. And the other thing, there was another piece to that though.
Masters.
No, yeah, Masters. Yeah, Masters. He's going to do it. He's going to hit join from browser. Okay, you might be in a second. Let's see how we go.
Yeah.
This
is the longest lead in ever, man.
I know.
And the thing is, you can see what anybody that's like really carefully watching, if anybody does watch our podcast, they'll be able to tell the difference between a work day and a weekend with me by my beverage, my choice of beverage. So when someone wants to do a Sunday evening, they're going to get me a little bit looser than they'll get me on a sort of Wednesday morning.
I love it. Bring on wine, Kim. Wine, Kim's fun.
God, yes. Well, it's the weather for it, isn't it? It's beautiful. But, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's been good. Oh, you've got to meet Bruno, Anton. We weighed them last week. He's 20.5 kilos. Yeah. Dio's only 19.5. So Bruno's still only 6 months. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. So that was my my amazing fun.
Classic.
I'm in a really interesting space with my jiu-jitsu. I just feel like I have to take it seriously, very, very seriously.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, time to stop fucking around and start to actually get out of the way of myself. That's
the purple belt. That's good. That, like I told you, that was my favorite, and that was where you really grow into your jiu-jitsu and get your game really, really entrenched. I reckon that's what you build your game.
Okay, so here's what I mean. Like, this is actually frustrating for me now. Like, not in a bad way. Like, I still love jiu-jitsu. I love going every day. But I feel like I've done a really bad job of learning up to this point. I'm kind of a bit pissed off with myself more than anything else about the rate of my progress. You know what I mean? So why was it your favorite belt?
It was where I really felt like I've heard an analysis that the belts are like, so white belt's like a baby. Yeah. Like you just kind of, you don't have a clue. You're just kind of learning about the world. Blue belt's like a toddler, like you want to run, but blue belt is like a teenager's, like you've got all the answers, but, you know, and that is a pretty, I think, true analysis. And then this article that I had, this example, was saying that a brown belt's kind of like an adult where you can go to the club, but you can't drink yet. So I think it was a US article, because I think they can drink at 21, but they can, you know, go other stuff at 18. And then at black is where you think that you are going to have all the answers. Like you think as an adult, you're going to know what the hell's going on in the world, but you realize you're still just learning, like it's still the beginning.
Yeah.
And I really feel like that with purple belt. You really develop, and those teenage years are those real experimental years, and you try stuff and whatever, but then you really entrench yourself into, I guess, the way that you're going to go, or the path that you want to take in the world. So I loved it.
Okay, so
I feel like
which belt did you hate the most then?
maybe it'd be a toss up between brown and white. I feel like brown was like one for me personally. I didn't have a great time competitively. I didn't do well competitively wise. Like that's when we went to masters, and I didn't achieve what I wanted. And off the mat too, I had a lot of stuff going on. But then white belt too is just shit, it just sucks. And being a smaller white belt, like it's just brutal. There's no joy. So yeah,
I understand. Well, hopefully I think I'm going to enjoy brown more than purple personally, but I don't know.
But you're not quite there. And then to be totally honest, like there was this part right at the end of brown, right at the end, where you're kind of thinking, well, when's this going to happen? When am I going to get my black belt? Like, where is it? And this weird limbo kind of time, because you feel like I should be getting it, and other people who were, you try not to compare yourself, but who were around at the same sort of time as you, they're all getting promoted, and what the hell am I doing? It's this weird conversation you're having in your own head, like, I don't care, that's good. Let me stay on this belt and like really dominate this belt. But then I want to get the next promotion and be a shit black belt, So it's like this weird time. But I've loved black belt more than brown. It's weird because the higher the belt, the bigger the target. Yeah. But for me, I almost had like a sense of relief to get the black belt in a weird way. Like, okay, now I can start learning again. And that's cool. I lost my ego entirely. I felt I still had a little bit of that at brown. You don't want to tap to a lower belt. You're just like, whoa. Whereas maybe it's helped having Theo as well, and him being a white belt and learning way from the beginning. I've tried to take that mindset with a lot of stuff. Like white belt is that, real beginner belt. And I think Tiago said it to me when I got my black, that like, it's now like a white belt. Hey, we've got something happening here.
Yeah, it's like the start all over again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Jason. Hey, woo.
Man, look at you. You've got your organized office going on there, man. You look way more professional than us.
Oh, really? No, I can see all your boxes lined up in a row there, mate. You're doing well.
I've had to blur my background so you can't see what's going on here. I've got my kitchen in the background, and my kids will start walking around. So yeah, that's why nothing going on here. Anyway, I was saying to Anton, I think I met you like once or twice, like 5 years ago. And I came and visited your academy, and Anton, obviously you guys are meeting for the first time now. So
nice to meet you, Anton.
You too,
thank
mate.
you so much.
Yeah.
So Anton and I have just been kind of, I guess, talking amongst ourselves for the last few minutes, and we did start the recording. Normally we start this conversation with you and then we hit record. So I'm not sure how we're actually going to play this, Anton, whether we include that as part of the podcast.
We're going to keep it in. We're going to keep it in. So just do an intro, Kim, and we'll keep going.
Yeah, we'll just do an intro like in the middle of our podcast, which is what we normally do. So thank you so much. Welcome to another episode of Roll or Die. Today we have Mr. Jason Roebig, black belt at Axis Jiu-Jitsu on the Gold Coast, and a Gracie instructor. Thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome, Jason. Now, actually, I'm going to lead off with the first question because we're actually right in the middle of a conversation. I was just sharing a story with Kim. I thought I was getting a stripe the other day, and I wasn't, embarrassingly. Like, I was being squashed by a guy. I thought my coach called my name to give me a stripe because he was giving another stripe. I walk over, I stand behind this guy as if I'm in a queue, and then someone else comes over and asks me for a roll. I'm like, oh no, coach wants to talk to me. And the coach goes, no, Anton, you're dreaming. I'm not giving you a stripe, right?
Oh, no.
And it happens in front of a whole bunch of people. And I was just sharing with him, I'm a bit like, I'm totally fine. Like, I love jiu-jitsu. I'll never quit it. I want to go all the way. I want a red belt before I die, and I'll be over 100 for that. But I'm going all the way, right?
Yeah.
But I'm really frustrated right now. What was your most frustrating kind of segment of your jiu-jitsu career, brother? Talk about that.
To be honest, I wouldn't say that I've ever had like a frustrating part. I think the most frustrating thing for me was, like maybe at the purple belt level where, everyone's starting to really develop their own game. And I had like a good little competition game going, with the modern sort of stuff and De La Riva, and I know it's gone way past that now, but at the time it was kind of like the deep half and all this stuff was going on.
Yeah.
And then I progressed to my brown belts, and that's when Cron came over to Australia to do a seminar with me, and we started hanging out. And prior to that, I'd met Cron when Taka Masawatanabe, my coach from Axis Japan, we went over to LA and watched Hickson's Budo Challenge. And Cron then was only like 14 or 15. So, he was just a teenager. So anyway, Cron's come over, he just got his black belt, and he just freaking wiped the floor with me. And I was just like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And, up until then, I was doing really well. I actually don't think I'd been tapped for about 7 years.
Wow.
So, So this was kind of crazy. And I mean, he did it within I'd say 30 seconds from inside the guard. It was just like an armbar.
Wow.
Just overhooked my arm. And so that was kind of like, after that, it was just kind of like a realization that whatever I was doing wasn't working against this guy. And it was really frustrating because I thought I had like a really good game going, but this type of game just kind of blew my mind. I had no answer for it at all. And it was over and over and over again after that. So that was pretty frustrating.
That is frustrating, brother. I got it.
Yeah. But as far as along the journey, nothing really. I've just loved it the whole every step along the way.
Yeah, my frustration's like with myself. It's not with, just to be clear, it's not with the club or my coach or anything. But like, I just like, what am I doing that I just can't progress? It feels like I'm not progressing.
All good things take time, right?
Cool. I'm hoping so. I'm hoping I'm not like a bit special in some way, that just where I've reached my peak and this is it, No,
definitely not. I think we always go along this like a bit of a plateau where you think you're not improving.
Yeah.
But we're just like sorting it out. That's all. Just takes time.
All right.
And tell us about your journey, Jason. Like, how did you discover jiu-jitsu?
Well, my background was really in Kōryu Jiu-Jitsu, which is more of the Japanese side of things. So I was like heavily into that. And so this is going back around 99, 2000. And I was doing security in the clubs at the time. And this Brazilian guy came in, and there was no Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on the coast at all at that time. And he was just over here on like a working holiday. He was a brown belt, so that was kind of like the first intro into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He was only small and really amazing. And of course, we knew about the UFC and everything. That was going, but there were no schools around. There were in Melbourne, but nothing in Queensland. Not that I know of, anyway. So not long after that, I actually moved to Japan. And I continued my training in Japan. And a mate of mine, who was actually a student back here, Junpei Uchiyama, he rang me and he said, listen, I've got this mate of mine that's trained at this academy called Axis. So he's, he'll meet you at the train station and then take you to the academy. And walked in and started, did my first class. And and I just basically fell in love with it. It was just like, I continued doing the other stuff that I was doing, but it just, it was like less and less and less. And then, jiu-jitsu just took over. And I really just haven't looked back. It was just, as it's just so humbling. And there's nothing else like it really, as far as like, everyone gets used as a mop when they first start. And the challenge of it was just, whatever it was that was missing in my martial arts life, that was it. So, yeah.
And did you
all by the horns and just carried on?
Did you compete any other stuff that you were doing ever, or was jiu-jitsu the beginning of you competing?
No, like in the traditional arts are really about the art itself, you know. So no, I mean, even with jiu-jitsu, you know, I didn't really compete until, because even at Axis Japan at the time, there weren't really that many competitions. There was like a couple of little like city competitions going on here and there. And even Axis had their own inter-club competition that was going on because there wasn't that much around. But yeah, no, it was jiu-jitsu completely took over at that stage.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Sure. And so you're quite heavily involved with the Gracies. Like your Facebook photo has Hickson and Cron and you sitting around, I don't know, having coffee or whatever you're doing. Like, can you tell us how that came about? How did you get involved with them so intimately?
Well, if I said it in front of Hickson, you know, it was just good luck, he'd say that luck's got nothing to do with it. But I guess I'd gone from Australia. I think I can't even remember what year it was, but it was the year that Hickson held the Budo Challenge. And I was actually traveling from Australia to Japan to compete in the All Japan Championships. So I arrived in Japan, and then Tucker's taking me out to lunch, and we're like having a bit of a conversation over lunch. And I said, "So when's this competition? What time does it start?" And Tucker gave me this blank look across the table and had realised that he forgot to tell me that the All Japan Championships had been cancelled.
Oh, wow.
So I'd like flown to Japan to compete.
And it wasn't cheap to travel to Japan back then, was it? It wasn't like...
It wasn't. No.
Like it is now. It was...
I think it was, back then it was like, you'd be lucky to get change out of 1,700, you know?
Oh.
So it was expensive. Yeah. So anyway, he said, "You know what? There's this competition that Hickson's doing. Let's go to that instead." So I was a purple belt at the time. We rocked over there, and that's pretty much how it started. So after the competition, the following day, Hickson invited Tucker and myself over to his house. There was another student of his that was training at the academy at the time that was like dying to meet Hickson, so he came along as well. And we chatted and we wrestled in his lounge room, and he made us sit on the mount and, you know, took him in the garden, tried to do stuff to him, and it was amazing. So
wow,
that was how it started basically. And then we just stayed in contact, and then along the line I met Cron, and then Cron and I became friends. I'd go and train with Cron in LA, and just got to know Hickson a little bit better. And then Hickson asked me to be his representative in Australia here for the Jiu-Jitsu Global Federation.
Wow.
And I launched the Jiu-Jitsu Federation of Australia. And that's the links just basically continued. So, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. I just finished reading Hickson's book, actually, only a couple of weeks ago. And my son read it straight after, and he's quoting pieces out of that book. Like, that book has changed both of our lives. Have you actually read that? I know you probably know a lot of this stuff already, but did you read that book?
Yes, I've read it. Yeah.
How amazing is that book?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
It is amazing. And have you ever met him?
No. I feel like I have through the book. I feel like I understand the family at least now. You know, I had no idea that they were actually literally trying to breed a pack of fighters, and they succeeded in that. And like just so much of that background and the Valley Tudo stuff, all this stuff is just mind blowing to me, and gave me so much of a whole fresh look at what jiu-jitsu is, man. And I'm so in love with this martial art now as a result. Like my love for art went next level.
Yeah, that was a great read. So I'm glad you read it. Have you read it, Kim?
No, I haven't. My partner has just finished reading it. So, it's next on my list. And, I can attest that Anton is definitely very changed from reading it off the mat as well as on the mat. He seems to be, it's really had an impact. So what's he like as a person, Hickson, in person?
He's very unique. You know, he's just like, he's not like anybody else that's, you know, I've ever met, not even just in the martial arts, but he's just a very genuine person. He's super humble, but he has an intensity about him as well. like even when he was over here doing the couple of seminars that he did a few years back, you know, we're just like walking around Byron, and you know, we'd walk into a restaurant, or you know, and he just has a presence, and everyone kind of like looks at him for no reason. It's just that he has this presence that's like a air of confidence about him, but just super humble, and yeah, just a very unique person for sure.
Yeah.
Such an amazing, like one of the pieces that really stand out as far as his personal life was he had amassed such a reputation as a massive fighter and was getting paid. He was doubling his fee every fight.
Yeah.
And then had racked up a huge amount of kind of lifestyle expenses, I guess, like a massive lifestyle. Went through a divorce, gave everything to his partner, started again, and just wanted to deliver seminars, like discovered that was his passion. And then changed his life completely to just fit within what he could make. Like he could comfortably deliver seminars and live like a king if he just scaled everything down. And it wasn't about the big flashy lifestyle anymore. So I just really love that transformation. Like I know that people like Mother Teresa and Gandhi, people like that just die with slippers and that's it. And I kind of see Hickson in that same vein. Like he's evolving as a human being. It's no longer about the flashy money and the flashy lifestyle. It's just about passing on knowledge and living humbly. That's how I imagine him. Is that correct?
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, that's exactly what he's like. Yeah, he doesn't have any flash watches. He doesn't wear flash clothes. He's really just like, you know, you and I, but yeah, just on another level. You know?
And for a guy who's getting paid over $1 million a fight, that's a big shift. You know what I mean? Like that's
yeah, huge, especially for back then, right? So it was a big thing.
Jason, getting back to your journey, so you then came back from Japan, and so how did Access come about in the Gold Coast? Like, what happened there?
So that stint in Japan for me on that occasion was for just over 2 years. So I got my purple belt in that time, and I said to Tucker, look, you know, because I just loved it so much, I didn't want to go back to doing what I was doing before. I still loved, I still had like a passion for the traditional arts, but, you know, I said to Tucker, I'd like to open up an academy. So he just gave me his blessing to do that. And when I came back, I opened up Access as a purple belt. I think there was a black belt on the coast at the time, Daniel, and the only other guy I think that was around was Vincent Perry, who was also a purple belt.
That's where I started. Was he Puma MMA? Puma?
Yes. Yeah. Still is. Yeah.
Even Lenny were my first BJJ coaches on the Gold Coast. So.
Oh wow! Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. There you go. There's a connection. Yeah.
There is.
Yeah. So Vinny's a great guy. We you know, we kind of like spoke a lot during that time and tried to help each other out. And you know, I'd have a problem. I'd say, listen, this is happening. What would you do in this situation? And you know, on the Gold Coast, jiu-jitsu was in its infancy. There was no one around. So he was a huge support for me, and a lovely guy. Awesome. Very nice.
This is your website. I'm just going to quickly share my screen, but I think this is your website, right? accessjj.com.au.
Yeah, that's the one.
So people don't know about you when you're in Brisbane Road, Figure Waters.
Yeah, that's the one. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're actually just in the process now of building a new one up at Yatala. So
really?
it's in a big. It's kind of like an entertainment precinct that's being built at the moment. It's right in the middle of the Gold Coast, between the Gold Coast and Brisbane.
Yeah, right.
You know, it will eventually have like a big brewery. There's like indoor-outdoor markets. An area, it's called Trucks and Tunes. It's running at the moment. So there's like food trucks, live entertainment, a brewery, and this huge market area where the new academy is being built inside. So hopefully it should be finished by the end of April.
That's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Jason, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu can be sometimes a little bit controversial because I guess it's much more based around the fundamentals of Jiu-Jitsu, like the self-defense side of it. And sometimes there can be a little bit of, especially online, you know, battles between the the old school and the new school in terms of what jiu-jitsu is. What are your thoughts around, new school jiu-jitsu or the newer wave versus Gracie jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I know that there's like a bit of an argument with that, and like there's a big debate between the two. But and I have asked Hickson the same question, and he jiu-jitsu is jiu-jitsu. So I know that I love the modern game. A lot of the stuff, the inversions and berimbolo and all this sort of stuff. I'm flexible, but it's just not my game. So and Gracie jiu-jitsu, as people understand it now, and where they're sort of saying there's like this sort of like big separation. Jiu-jitsu is jiu-jitsu. I think the main difference with Gracie jiu-jitsu and the way that people perceive Gracie jiu-jitsu is the fact that it is fundamentally strong and it hasn't lost the self-defense aspect that the Gracie brothers originally brought to the table. So, and I just don't think that there's that many competition clubs around that incorporate the self-defense side of jiu-jitsu. And, Hickson has this saying, if you don't know self-defense, you don't know jiu-jitsu. And I mean, of course, it's coming from, the man himself. So, what he's trying to encourage is that, academies bring in the reality of jiu-jitsu. And, I myself couldn't think of anything worse than getting into a street fight and just, like my jiu-jitsu going completely out the door. So for me, it's important. We do self-defense as well as competition jiu-jitsu. But to be honest, I love the modern game. I think it's incredible. The guys are just amazing, like these new hybrid athletes. So I certainly don't diss it. I love watching it. I enjoy practicing it. I can't do it very well, but, I love it. Yeah, so I love the new and I love the old. I just don't have anything bad to say about it.
Yeah.
So you think no gi doesn't matter, all jiu-jitsu, yeah?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
One of the pieces that stood out in the book as well to me, it's just coming back to me now, is that like the Gracies would have their people who wanted to take up jiu-jitsu would do at least 40 private lessons before their first ever group session. That is trippy to me, man. I mean, like, I love the idea of that, because imagine now if you had like jiu-jitsu out there, like your brown belts in your class, etc., would have a revenue stream if every new person that came in was delivering privates. It wouldn't be affordable to a lot of people all of a sudden.
Oh yeah, that's very expensive.
Yeah,
very expensive.
So expensive.
But imagine like how good you would be if your first 40 lessons were privates.
Lessons. Yeah, totally. I mean, certainly setting the groundwork for you, so you have a huge head start.
Yeah.
And I think there are some organizations that still take part of that concept with their intro classes as well. I know that I'm pretty sure he's still doing it, but Pedro Sauer, he has like 12 months of, a certain program where the guys aren't allowed to roll at all. They can only do the self-defense in that beginner program. It's kind of like the concept of like not throwing you into the line so you get smashed and then they lose you as a student. So, I think it's awesome. Yeah. Certainly not for everybody, because I think a lot of people actually do jiu-jitsu for the hands-on thing as well. But
community, like that's as well, I think, as big a part of jiu-jitsu as the actual on the mat stuff. Like if you're doing jiu-jitsu but just with the one person all the time, I think that's quite different to doing it in a class. Things like that. That's just me, but yeah. I mean, I don't know. Personally, I reckon you could get to black belt without having to do a private. I don't.
Totally.
That's my own opinion. But yeah, I mean, sometimes there can be a place for it, but it definitely is very overwhelming. Like I know when I first started jiu-jitsu, and whether that's because I was as a smaller, older female, it's really overwhelming those first few weeks or months or, sometimes even up to a year. What would you say to anyone that, of our listeners that might still be feeling like that anxiety about coming in the early days of jiu-jitsu? Like I know everyone sort of says, hey, just keep showing up or whatever, but have you got any words of wisdom about it? Feel better about it?
That's one.
Yeah.
That's one, keep showing up. But look, I don't think if someone sort of said when they started that they didn't get nervous before class, I think they're lying because, you know, no matter how tough you are, it is nerve-wracking walking through that door. Even after a long period of time. I mean, I lived in Kawasaki, so that was like a 45, minute train ride to Meidei in Tokyo, where the academy was. And, I would have butterflies every session because the academy was full of beasts. And, it wasn't just like easy technical rolling. There was like... like some guys were good, of course, but other guys, the tough guys in the academy that wanted to, keep their title. Yeah, it was like a battle. But, I think people just need to understand that it's normal to feel that way. And if they can just hold on to it until they get to the academy and walk through the door, as soon as the gi goes on and you hit the mat and you realize that everyone's just so friendly, and the camaraderie that you have and the mat culture that your academy might have, it just makes everything better. So that's what I think where the emphasis should be, is just like the whole thing, in general. You got to look at it as a whole and not just like the fear of jumping on the mats and rolling with someone that you don't know. I think also communication is the key. So some guys, they might start a roll and they're just thinking that, I'm going to like take it easy. And next minute, the guy's trying to tear your arms off. And so you've got to be prepared. But, if you're communicating with the person that you're wrestling with and say, listen, I'm a beginner, can you show me, a few things and guide me along the way? It's like that, like one foot in front of the other. So, yeah. But look, we all get nervous on the mat. It's normal.
It's taking me right back. I can remember being on the Gold Coast, sitting outside the gym. Like, this would happen daily. And for the first year, I think at least I did jiu-jitsu. Like, I'd be out the front saying, should I go in? Shouldn't I go in? I could just go home. I could just have a beer. I used to drink that. It'd be so much easier. There was a wrestling match happening in my mind before I even went in. And I don't think it was worried about being hurt. I think it was more just like, I didn't want to look stupid. Like, I was scared I was going to be a bad partner for the person I was training with. I just thought I was going to just mess the whole thing up. I think that's what it was. But that anxiety was real, like it was real for me.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Wilting flower. So it must be, some people must really do it even tougher.
Yeah. And I think, Kim, like, especially for a woman walking into an academy, it's very daunting. So
very intimidating.
I love having women in my academy, and we do have quite a good little competition team made up of blue belts and white belts. And they're all like incredible, and they all have the same story. They're all like, oh my God, I'm going to, walk into this male-dominated sort of sport, and but they just keep coming. So kudos. Yeah.
That's awesome. And Jason, you lived in Japan for a while, so I know people who like go to Brazil, the gringos over there. Was there anything like that for you, being like non-Japanese? I think
you're called gaijin when you're over there.
Yeah. No, look, not at all. I mean, way back, I think I started going to Japan around about 91. And then going back and forth pretty much every year consistently. And then back then it was a little bit more difficult because there weren't many English signs around. So I got lost a lot. But as far as the people go, they were just like so super friendly. Like, I remember occasions saying, oh, look, I can't find my way to the academy, or I'm lost. And then, people would actually go out of their way and walk me to the correct train and help me get a ticket.
That's not happening in Melbourne, man. So.
Yeah. And I mean, very rare that would happen anywhere else either, but Japan is just such a special country, and the people are, like just so helpful and friendly. I didn't experience anything bad. So I was lucky.
Yeah.
And how would you describe your particular BJJ style for like we've never rolled. Hopefully we'll get to roll one day. But what should I do if I'm coming for you? If I'm making a dojo, storm you, and I'm there and I knock on the door and I call you out, what should I do to have my way with you? What should I watch out for? Probably what should I watch out for?
I would say that's, my jiu-jitsu is almost boring because it's just fundamentally strong. I don't do anything fancy except for apply a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And I mean, as you get a little bit older as well, I've got like an array of injuries that trouble me, but it doesn't stop me from rolling. So, like these days, I certainly don't, mind people. Like as a purple belt, I was like, no one passes my guard. There's no way I'm letting anyone pass my guard. But then as you get, through it, you kind of like start to lose the ego. And I mean, I love to try to practice just recovery, letting someone pass my guard. But as far as my game goes, it's just fundamentals. And, I still do the odd De La Riva. Definitely no rubber guard. My knees can't handle it.
Yeah.
I've tried a couple of berimbolos and I've always ended sideways. So that doesn't work for me either.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look, I just believe in a good understanding and a deep knowledge of movements. I really concentrate on a lot of movement these days. So that's probably how I'd explain it. Certainly not fancy or advanced.
Yeah, so I shouldn't eat a heavy meal beforehand. There's going to be a lot of top pressure pushing down.
I can guarantee I'll be pushing that pelvis straight into your stomach, mate. It'll be flying up around here.
Awesome.
And Jason, you mentioned about recovery. Like, I'm sure you're actually still way younger than Anton and myself, but have you got any advice for the older grappler out there that's listening about how to keep that longevity in jiu-jitsu, how to stay on the mat?
As far as longevity goes, I would just say really be kind to yourself. It's 100% okay to tap. Any time that I've injured myself is probably because I've gone at that time too hard. And, I do a lot of warming up, a lot of hip escapes, a lot of fundamental movements, a lot of solo exercises, a lot of stretching. So I'm just really kind to my body. And I certainly just don't go crazy like a madman anymore. Whereas, of course, as a purple belt, I used to. There was a couple of guys in the academy back in Japan. They sort of said to me after this one roll with another really tough guy, they looked at me and they said, "Jason, it's not Vale Tudo." And I'm like, but I'm not rolling that hard, am I? I think you just have to look after the body and, just don't go crazy. Just enjoy it. That's the most important thing. The love of jiu-jitsu and the way that you roll and the way that you train definitely changes as you get a bit older. But I think it actually becomes more enjoyable because you don't have the ego there anymore. You get tapped, who cares? Part of it.
I think Kim and I have pretty much got time for one more question each, and I'm torn. But I'm going to go for the deeper question. And Rickson Gracie is an absolute weapon who's put his body on the line repeatedly, doesn't tap, refuses to tap, would rather die than tap, essentially. And I could imagine, if it was me in his presence, as someone who's kind of, associated with and become a friend of, that would kind of I would feel a pressure to be that way in some way, shape or form. How did you grapple, for want of a better word, with, because it sounds like you actually prefer to tap and to not put your body on the line to the point of disintegration, etc. And he's not that, or maybe he's changed. I don't know. But yeah, how did you reconcile that, or do you not show that piece of you in front of him? Tell me about that dynamic in the relationship.
Look, I think at the end of the day, there's only one Rickson Gracie, and he's just a different human to everybody else. But the biggest, besides Rickson, of course, he was like a hero to me. But his son, Kron, Kron was actually the biggest influence on my jiu-jitsu. So, we had some battles, and you know, I tried to really be a lot like him because, of course, he's the one that I was rolling with. So I would really, you know, ask a lot of questions. How are you doing this and this and this? And, you know, Ron's not one for like explaining something in detail either. He's kind of like more hands-on. Let's just feel it in the role. But, you know, I just tried to emulate him as much as I could, you know, and every time that he rolled, if I was ever on the side, I would just watch him like a hawk and watch what he did in certain situations and just try and, you know, be the best that I could be, following the guidelines, you know, of, you know, the connection and sensitivity to movement and body wiring. And, you know, he rolls differently to a lot of other top world-class guys that I've rolled with as well. And I've seen guys that are like high-level black belts come into the academy and roll with Cron. And, you know, it's almost like their guard is non-existent, where he will just walk past it. So, yeah, I didn't put too much pressure on myself, but I did as that brown belt when he was like flogged me the first time as a brown belt. I stopped everything that I was doing in relation to the modern game and concentrated on just the fundamentals and anything that he said to me in relation to the fundamentals, and just this deep understanding of strong natural movement, how your body responds, you know, in a sensitive way to pressure and everything like that. That's what I just decided to concentrate on.
Wow. Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. You can go with your last question, Anton, because
all right.
I'm all out of questions. So yeah.
Jiu-jitsu on the Gold Coast, like we got ravaged in Melbourne with our jiu-jitsu. Like it's years. Like it was literally like a year off, I think, in one gap. It was a lot of time anyway. What happened on the Gold Coast through all of this? What's the scene like now? Talk about
honestly, look, we were just so lucky because when COVID first hit in March 2020, we were closed for about 4 months until they kind of like got it under control. And then we've had like some small snap closures every now and then, like I think 2 more, and they were only for about, I think one was for about 6 weeks and another one was 2 weeks. So we've just been pretty much open as normal.
Okay.
But, you know, I've got like a couple of affiliates down in Melbourne, 0 Point and Second Self Academy. And like you guys, you know, I just felt so bad for you guys because it was more like snap openings, right?
Yes, it was snap openings.
So I just don't know how you survived. I'm just so happy that you guys are able to get back to it and go back to normal now. It's just like, I just can't even imagine how good it must feel.
Yeah. Yeah. It really gives you a new look at jiu-jitsu, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is interesting though. A lot of people have not come back. I mean, even this most recent unlocking, still some people missing. Not sure if they'll eventually return down the track. But yeah, it is a little bit sad that some people maybe this length of time. I mean, I know for myself as a white belt or as a blue belt, it was hard enough sometimes to come to training, let alone with like 6 lockdowns in between to stop that momentum of getting, you know, getting into training and making it part of your lifestyle, I guess. That's probably the key.
Yeah, I think people just need to find their mojo again and they'll eventually come back.
Yeah. Well, there's not much else that's out there that's better than jiu-jitsu, is there? I mean, like you can go get some burgers or you can, I don't know, you can do something temporary or you can go just lift weights, but eventually you're going to realize that nothing gives you that kind of kick that jiu-jitsu does and that community and all sorts of things. So
even if you feel like crap, you know, you feel like crap going to training and then after training, you just like, it's euphoric. There is nothing like it, honestly.
I don't reckon there's even been 5 times where I felt worse after training than before. Like you always feel better after training, even if you get smashed, even if you think injured. Like
when I'm injured, I'm like, I earned this badge of honor.
That's it.
Classic. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for giving up your time, Jason. It took us a couple of goes, but we got here in the end. So it'll probably be out. I was trying to calculate. It might even be just like that week of Christmas. So we might, you might get that like golden egg. You get the listeners all over. So if you could share this, that'd be awesome because we can grow our audience. But we're on, we're on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Instagram, Facebook. We're all over. So yeah, we're hoping we can spread that jiu-jitsu community love to everyone all far and
100%.
wide.
Yeah,
It's a privilege to
I'll
meet you.
definitely share it for sure.
Thank
Thanks,
you so
guys.
much. Take care.
Thanks,
Bye.
Anton. Bye.